best race of the season out of the three, with potential rain, maybe a surprise winner, and some interesting track characteristics. This is going to be the analysis for the best and worst teams and my predictions for every single team on the grid for the Australia Grand Prix. As I did in my last video, I'm just going to go over every single team, give you their strengths and weaknesses, and where I think they will actually perform better and to each track. Australia is obviously a lot different to Jeddah, so I'm expecting a different pecking order. And depending on whether we have rain or not, we could actually have a surprise winner. And Red Bull will definitely be not as fast here as they were in Jeddah. Before I start this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. It means the world for me, and I love to have you guys on the channel and commenting and liking, love interacting with you guys. So whenever you guys have a chance, leave a comment for this video, any other video, leave a like, subscribe. If you're not subscribed, please do, and hit that notification bell. It means the world for me, and let's get into this video. Okay, the team we're gonna start off with, and last time I started off with them as well, it will be McLaren. So what do I think? I actually do think that this track will suit McLaren's needs a lot better. So we do have 4 DRS zones this year, which won't play into the strength of the McLaren because this top speed is atrocious and the worst on the grid. But a lot of braking zones, a lot of slow speed corners, some medium speed corners where this McLaren actually seems to be doing a lot better because they have a lot of downforce, but a bunch of drag as well. So I do have the McLaren performing better here, not as bad as in Jeddah. They will not be 15th and 16th. I think that they can edge towards the points, and we will see their strengths come out in the braking zones. The weaknesses will be the DRS zones, and I think overtaking will be hard, but qualifying will be a lot better for McLaren. I mean, their Jeddah qualifying wasn't that bad, but I do expect Australia to be a lot better. Next team I'm going to talk about is ALPHATAURI, and going into this weekend, I have ALPHATAURI being the team that I think will perform the worst. And that's not to say that maybe they do give us a surprise, but I just don't see this car's characteristics really working on a track like this. Their braking is pretty poor, their tire management is kind of in the middle, and they have a lot of drag. So with 4 DRS zones, they won't really catch people. I think that they're actually slower than the McLaren when it comes to braking and hitting those slow speed corners. It'll be a tough time, and we got to see how Nick de Vries performs, because out of the 2 races so far, he's gotten beaten by Yuki twice. Let's see if Nick can throw it into the toss. Let's see if it can be a 2-1. I'm interested to see where ALPHATAURI sits, but I have them going into this race probably being the worst team in Albert Park. Next team I'm going to talk about is a team that I think could have a surprising weekend and did have one in 2022. That is the Williams squad. Now, I think they were supposed to perform a lot better in Jeddah than they actually did. Alex Albon was very annoyed, per se, as to how that weekend went. It definitely was a weekend where they did not get the best out of the car. But last year, Alex went for 57 laps on the hard and pitted on lap 58 for the softs just to get that 1 point. And last year, if you guys do remember, that Williams was sticking it between 5th and 6th for most of the race and keeping up with McLaren's actual pace. After this race came Imola, and McLaren's were on the podium. So that Williams was pretty quick here. And I do believe that the car has some of the same characteristics as last year. And this track should suit them pretty well with 4 DRS zones. We know that there's straight line speed monsters and not much downforce. They're actually pretty decent at braking as well. They did have a brake failure in Jeddah, which is concerning, but I do have Williams performing a lot better, and I would expect them to fight somewhere near where McLaren's going to be and somewhere near the points. Next team I have is HAAS. And HAAS is a team that I actually also think could have a big chance here in Albert Park. You know, I was thinking of doing a video on HAAS. Let me know down below if you guys want to see that. I can make it. An article just recently came out about Gunther actually kind of threatening the Alpines and saying that they are the top of the midfield and they are in the fight with the Alpines. I think that is a very bold claim by Gunther. Let's see how they perform in this track. I do actually have them performing just as strong as the McLarens and Williams, and I think being even a little better. Their top speed is ridiculous. I don't know if you guys saw, but Haas and Red Bull are the only teams with, was it 31.5% DRS like efficiency? That is ridiculous. That Haas team has figured something out, and Yeah, I would like to see Hulk and K-Mag get a double points. That'd be pretty fun. Why not? I'd like to see Haas go up there, and I'm actually going to have them be pretty high up this year in this Albert Park circuit. I think that this could be a great Grand Prix for them, and I'm expecting big things from Haas. If their reliability doesn't kill them. If it's a wet race, it'd be tough to call. But in the dry, they will be quick. Next team I have is Alfa Romeo, who, yet again, you know, I gotta be honest with you guys. I think Alfa Romeo is the most unpredictable car so far. In Bahrain, I didn't expect them to do that well. They did all right. In Jeddah, they did a little bit better to my expectations. Bottas had damage, so we couldn't really go off of him. But Guan Yu Zhou wasn't bad. I honestly wasn't bad at all, and had a pretty decent race. That Alpha is very iffy, and I don't really have like a good prediction. I do know what they're okay at. Their straight line speed isn't great, but their braking and slow speed corners is good, so that could definitely help them in the Australian Grand Prix. But when it comes to like overtaking, I think they'll have a hard time to some of the top midfield teams. And I think that they will struggle and not get points yet again in this Albert Park circuit. I do think that 2023 for Alfa Romeo might be pretty miserable. And I have them performing almost as bad as ALPHATAURI. That's where I'm going to have them sit at. I think it's all a big midfield, honestly. But yeah, it's going to be a tough track for Alfa Romeo to actually get some points. But hey, maybe they pull off a world game. So let's see. Now going into the top 5 teams that we've had so far in the season, let's go into Alpine. Alpine is a team that I think is underperforming completely this year. But I do think that Albert Park could go in either a great way or a terrible way for them. Now, it's dependent on if they get the most out of the car. It seems like that car is still hiding some potential, especially like the way they were performing in Jeddah's practices. They're very fast in their straight line speed. I wonder if their engine is a little tuned down because of reliability. I guarantee that's somewhat of a factor. Last year they were terrible in the reliability, and I feel like Albert Park is calling for an engine failure here for Alpine. But the car has some interesting characteristics. It's pretty well balanced. I would say it's decent in its medium speed cornering, high speed cornering, and low speed cornering. Its braking is pretty good, but its top speed is also very good. It's just kind of a middle car, so a track like Albert Park could suit them. Will they compete with the top 4? I don't think so. Could they maybe itch at the Ferraris if Ferrari's having a bad race? I don't know. I think they're actually going to be fighting with Haas. I genuinely think that this midfield battle for 9th and 10th, if there's no failures in front, will be actually pretty interesting, and I do have Alpine coming in at that middle-ish ground. I don't really have too much to say for them. Next team is Ferrari, and honestly, I don't have Ferrari performing very well in this year's Albert Park. So I think they will struggle. I think Jeddah was going to be the circuit that they were supposed to perform really well at. But considering these tire problems, and yes, TD39 is back, but that doesn't really help them. The whole floor being lifted is still a mandate, and not calculating how much porpoising is happening won't really affect too much of what this Ferrari team has. It's not the porpoising that kills them, it's that they had to raise the height of the floor, and the car that they were trying to work on for 2023 is now a completely different, I guess, beast to what it was supposed to be. And I think a track like this won't suit their strong suits. It's not the F175, it's a different version of the car with less downforce. I don't expect a good race from Ferrari. I have them solidly being 4th. I think they'll be ahead of Alpine, but yeah, I don't really have them doing as well. Their braking is not bad. They brake probably, I think, the latest on the actual circuit, but it doesn't really mean much when you can't really accelerate as fast, and their medium speed cornering is just really bad. And this track tends to have a lot of medium speed corners. Next team I'm going to talk about is Aston Martin, who I have as the surprise of the weekend. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 different reviews for Aston Martin. If it's a wet race, Aston Martin, I think, is the strongest car on this track. Yes, I said it. I genuinely think that this Aston Martin, with its downforce, with not having that much top speed, but being amazing in its braking zones and being able to brake a lot later than anybody really on the grid, and being able to medium speed corner and low speed corner faster than anybody on the grid, they should be able to dominate, not dominate actually, let me take that word back. They should be able to become the best car on the circuit, just slightly over Red Bull if it rains. If the top speed is not as efficient, not as important, and downforce is more important, this Aston Martin car will be very deadly to deal with. and I really do expect them to have an amazing weekend, dry or wet. As for dry, I have them coming in as second best yet again. I think Red Bull is still gonna push them a little further, but I do think they will have a strong race. This circuit should actually go to their strengths really well. I do think it will be a closer race than it was in Jeddah. I don't believe that they can win though. It will be very close. I'm gonna assume, I'm gonna take a guess, 3 tenths off of race pace, like a lot closer than Jeddah where it was 6 tenths. So I would expect a pretty strong race from Aston Martin's here. Any reliability issues, Aston is coming in to take it over. So strong weekend for Aston Martin. As for Mercedes, they are actually bringing upgrades to the circuit, so we could see yet again another improved Mercedes W14 car here. Where do I expect them to be in the season, in this race? I expect them to perform well. I honestly, that car is not as bad as people are putting it out to be. I think they will be just as close as they were last race to Aston Martin and Red Bull. Maybe itching a little bit more towards Aston Martin in this race. It should push a little bit more to their strong suits as well. It is a good car under braking. Its tire management is still kind of iffy, but anything else in the car is pretty good. It's pretty good in medium speed corners, if not as fast as the Aston Martin. And its slow speed cornering is pretty good too. I actually do have Mercedes performing almost as well as Aston Martin. They could be in for a big surprise as well. We really don't know yet, but I think this Mercedes car should perform a lot better here. And Lewis Hamilton, I think, will have a great weekend, maybe fighting for a podium. It should be a very interesting Albert Park. And lastly, I'm talking about is Red Bull. And yet again, I'll give you my wet review and dry review. If it's a wet race, we do know what Max Verstappen performs in the wet races. It's insanity, and the guy is ridiculous on any form of track. But in the wet, I do think this car might struggle a little bit more in comparison to Aston Martin. Mercedes could maybe itch up. And the car's biggest strong suits is its high speed and top speed. So while if they're behind, they'll catch everybody. I genuinely think with 4 DRS zones, they're going to be lasers. But they could have a tough time with those Aston Martins. I genuinely think that Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso could perform out of this world race and really catch those Red Bulls out of their comfort zone. But time will tell, and I think it will be a definitely tough race for Red Bull if it's in the wet. If it's in the dry, I do have them being favorites, but not by much. I think it's going to be a race where the whole grid is a lot closer and we'll have a lot more interesting of a race than it was in both Jeddah and in Bahrain, with Red Bulls not being able to just take off. I'm hoping for a wet race that would make it out of this world, but even a dry race would be competitive, and I'm excited to see. Qualifying will matter a lot for those 2 top teams, and even Mercedes if they can somehow inch their way into that top battle. Okay, that is the video done. What did you guys think? What do you guys think of this Albert Park circuit? Do you guys think it will be an entertaining race? And what do you guys think of my predictions? Please leave a like, subscribe. It would mean the world, and peace.